Okay, in this video series, I'm demonstrating some simple EQing techniques to help improve your vocal sound using three different sets of gear: beginner gear, intermediate gear, and professional gear. And for all these videos, I'd recommend using your very best quality listening device so you can hear what I'm doing clearly. Today we're working with professional level equipment. I've got a specialized professional EQ application called FabFilter Pro Q here. This is a audio plugin you can buy. It's been a professional standard in the digital audio space for some time now, and it integrates with most digital audio workstations very easily. For the money that you pay, you get a lot of control and many different options to dial your sound in just right. Considering that you're going to use an EQ plugin on just about every track most of the time, even though this is something you have to pay for, I think it's a pretty great deal. You're going to use it all the time. So here's a rundown of three very basic shapes that we can use inside this EQ. The first is called a bell. If I just double click here and pull it down, you can see it kind of looks like a bell, and by changing this Q option, I can make it narrower or wider. I can also make a shelf, which I'll select right here. And we'll just pull down. As you can see, it kind of looks like a shelf, right? Particularly if I move it up, top of the shelf, bottom of the shelf. This lets me pull a whole range of frequencies down at once. I can add shelves low and high. That would be typically where you'd use them. I can also add cuts. So a cut is different than a shelf in that it goes all the way down to 0 here. And again, by adjusting this Q, I can adjust a little bit of a boost before the cut. And by adjusting this decibels per octave, I can make the cut take different shapes. That would be a pretty sharp cut right there. So those are some basic EQ shapes. Now we're going to use these to clean up our sample piece of audio. So I've got my test audio loaded up here. It's just a simple spoken word vocal recording, similar to something you might see in a podcast. And the first thing I'm going to do is listen through a portion of it, both with my eyes closed and also looking at this screen where we'll see a visual representation of what this audio sounds like. Here we go.
Like I said, I didn't have any major life things that happened in my life that really altered my life, but it felt major to me at that moment in my life. And here's why. There were three significant.
So I'll draw your attention to a couple different things. We have a lot of kind of unnecessary stuff in the bottom part of the spectrum here. So if we listen, there's a little bit of boominess.
Things I think that happened during that transition phase in life for me. One was as I was graduating high school, I was knowing that I was going to college, and all of my friends who were.
And there's also some buildup in here where a lot of the S sounds are, and that's going to kind of sound a little harsh. It's going to be a little bit jabby sounding. So to fix that, I'm just going to kind of let this play and just make some adjustments in my EQ. I'm going to use a shelf to kind of gently pull down some of the lower frequencies.
That didn't have any major life things that happened in my life that really altered my life, but it felt major to me at that moment in my life. And here's why. There were three significant things I think that happened during that transition phase in life for me. One was as I was graduating high school, I was knowing that I was going to college, and all of my friends who were my friends in high school, I knew that I wouldn't be seeing these friends all the time anymore.
So that's starting to clean up some of it. I pulled down some of the S-ing here and kind of took some of that boominess out, so it got a little bit more focused. This is already a pretty good source recording. It sounds very professional, so we might not really need to do that much, but I do want to see if I can add some clarity without making it too harsh. Make one more move here.
Have any major life things that happened in my
I can use this tool to zoom in on this band. So that's just the sound of what this band is going to be modifying. And it's got some of that kind of boxy, boomy quality. So I'm just going to pull that
One
down.
was as I was graduating high school, I was knowing that I was going to college, and all of my friends who were my friends in high school, I knew that I wouldn't be seeing these friends all the time anymore.
Gonna kind of keep playing with it.
Um, Life things that happened in my life that really altered my life, or but it felt major to me at that moment in my life. And here's why. There were three significant things I think that happened during that transition phase in life for me. One was as I was graduating high school, I was knowing that I was going to college, and all of my friends who were my friends in high school, I knew that I wouldn't be seeing these
So
friends all the
that's kind of nice. We've got the boominess down to a very, very low level in the sub, so there's not going to be a lot of that coming through, but still going to sound nice and natural because we're not completely cutting it. Some of the sibilants, that S sound, that's been kind of taken out here, and it's just a little bit more clear with just a little tiny adjustment here, and I think we're sounding really nice. So that's an example of how to make some little cutting changes that'll clean things up and make your vocals sound clear and professional across a wide variety of systems. So here's a little bonus. It's not technically EQing what I'm about to do, but it is something I would do for working on this particular kind of a vocal track. We've made some general cleaning adjustments up here that have improved the sound, and now we're going to use another specialized tool called a de-esser, and we're going to go to this de-esser tool. And de-esser is basically just going to let us grab some of those those SE sounds and pull them down without affecting other parts of the vocal sound. So I'm just going to let this play, but this time I'm going to turn this filter on, and this is going to let me listen to exactly what only this filter is doing.
Like I said, I didn't have any major life things that happened in my life that really altered my life, or but it felt major to me at that moment.
So you can hear on those T's and on those S's, you can watch it trigger. And it just so happens we've kind of landed on, I think, a good starting place for this. You can see that the detecting circuit is only triggering on those S's and on those T's when they go over a certain threshold. So let's kind of turn the filter off and hear what this plugin is doing when it's attached to the track.
Moment in my life. And here's why. There were three significant things I think that happened during that transition phase in life for me. One was as I was graduating high school, I was knowing that I was going to college, and all of my friends who were my friends in high school, I knew that I wouldn't be seeing these friends all the time anymore.
So de-essers are super important in that they really improve smoothness of the vocal. I don't have a de-esser on the microphone I'm speaking into now, and it's kind of a sibilant microphone, so you can hear my own S's as I'm talking are probably jumping out. And using a tool like this is a really great way to kind of get that really smooth, easy to listen to professional sound. So I'm just going to make this trigger just a little bit harder, just to kind of smooth things out a little bit more, and we'll play it from the top.
Like I said, I didn't have any major um, life things that happened in my life that really altered my life, or but it felt major to me at that moment in my life. And here's why. There were three significant things I think that happened during that transition phase in life for me. One was as I was graduating high school.
I think that sounds really nice, much better. It's kind of got that like easy to listen to rolling quality where nothing's really jumping out at you. It just is a really nice, pleasant experience listening to the vocal. And I think we've improved things in a major way. So a little bonus here. De-essing, particularly on vocals, is something you usually want to do in addition to the EQ steps that we took earlier in the video. Okay, so there's an example of how to do some simple EQ moves to clean up those vocals. How you apply these techniques is going to depend on the type of project that you're working on. You're going to find that each individual vocalist is going to require a slightly different touch, and that you'll need to use some of these tools in slightly different ways depending on the exact performer and the exact piece of audio that you're working with. For a relatively simple project like a podcast, these simple techniques might get you to good enough in that situation. Now that we've seen how the pros do it, in our next video, we're going to talk about how to get a similar sound using less fancy, more intermediate level gear that you might already have. Thanks for watching.